The next time you need a haircut, think of the barbershop with a grand tradition. Williams Barbershop. Williams Barbershop, proud to serve the entire community of Eufaula. Come by to our new location, new facilities, and see what it's like to be treated in style at Williams Barbershop in the old J.C. Penney catalog store. There is another choice for making funeral arrangements. Central Funeral Services, located in Eufaula and Louisville, Alabama, with one-of-a-kind staff, thrives on professionalism and meeting the unique needs of families with a wide variety of services. Owned and operated by the Mixon family. Call 687-1060 or 266-5261. Melissa Mixon Smith, licensed funeral director.
Welcome to Gumbo Live. This is L.C. Green, and I'm here with a good friend of mine, very good friend of mine. I always tell you that Gumbo Live is going to be entertaining and informative. And this is one of my guests that I'm very proud of. I'm very proud that he agreed to be my guest. This is Brother Jimmy Williams, and we're here at Williams Barbershop. Brother Jimmy, thank you for being on my program, number one, sir.
My pleasure.
And number two, just to familiarize everybody with who you are, won't you just tell our viewing audience who is Jimmy Williams?
Okay, it's my pleasure. Well, Jimmy Williams is the son of Jimmy Williams Sr. I'm Jimmy Williams Jr.
All right.
Born and raised here in Eufaula. I'm 59 and a half years old.
And a half.
And a half,
all
so
right,
I'm closing on 60 years old.
All right.
But I say that to say I've been here in Eufaula all my life. You know.
All right.
I've worked, went to school here in the Eufaula City School System. Finished high school in 1973 at Eufaula High School, and I worked temporarily at American Building Company for a while, and left Eufaula, went to Detroit, and stayed a few months. And
Is that right?
Daddy called me back. Kurt had gone in the Navy, and said, "Well, he needed
Curtis,
me."
your brother?
Curtis, my oldest brother.
Let me say this to you, Brother Jimmy. I normally tell all my guests this. I tell all my guests this. A lot of times you'll be talking and something will trigger in my head, and I'll just interrupt you.
Okay.
I'm not trying to be disrespectful or rude. I was raised better than that.
Yeah.
But I like to try to get the most out of our dime.
Well, I understand.
So Kurt, you said Kurt went in the Navy. Kurt is your brother.
Curtis Williams. I'm sure everybody know Curtis Williams. Unfortunately, we lost Curtis last year, February 18th, if I'm not mistaken. Curtis was my oldest brother.
It's been a year already.
Yeah, a little better than a year.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, been better than a year.
Okay.
Curtis was the oldest of 9 children.
Okay.
He was the oldest. It was 4 boys, 5 girls, and Curtis passed away, and I was the next oldest son. So just like it was back then, when I was about to say, Daddy called on me to come back home from Detroit. Well, I guess fate called me this time to come back and try to restore our place in the barbershop business.
Let's talk about that in a minute. Let's talk about that. I want to talk about that. But now you retired from Alabama Power.
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
Worked 40 years at Alabama Power.
40 years.
Started October 16th of 1973 and worked till October 16th of 2013. So that's 40 years to the day.
All right. Now, I'm picking up that the barbershop, we here at Williams Barbershop, a very beautiful barbershop. I want to say this, and we're going to do another Gumbo Live on the barbershop itself, because it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Not only, but now I want to say 2 things to you about the barbershop. And for folks, for our viewing audience that may not know, the barbershop has always been the staple of the black community. It has been where politics and church and everything else took place in the barbershop. So now, but you were saying that it's a family tradition for y'all.
Well, yeah, Daddy started it in 73 somewhere. I think not. Excuse me. Well, yes, I did say 67. I got the sign outside. 67. I finished high school in 73.
Okay, all right.
So Curtis was the oldest, and there was a young man come from Savannah, Georgia, Ron Shell. He was a Jehovah's Witness, and he and Curtis started the shop, and I was the shoe shine boy.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So you started off from shoe shining.
I was shining shoes.
And so you really actually lived the American dream, because you started off from shoe shine to owner now.
Well,
And that's the American dream.
That's
You know,
it.
that's what they tell us in America that we can do. We can start from the lowest and go all the way to the top.
well, that's what I started, Daddy. You know, he believed in work. You know, we farmed for many years, but finally we give that up. You know, we got out of that, and he come on to town and started the shop. Now, Daddy used to be a barber himself, worked for Thompson Barbershop.
Yeah, up on the club. Yeah.
Daddy started cutting on the back porch on Sunday morning. If you can recall, years ago, you know, before even there were many black barbershops, most people would cut on the back porch.
That's
You know,
right.
Sunday morning, people would come around and they'd get the haircuts, and then they'd go to church. So Daddy, one of those backyard barbers or back porch barbers, using those hand clippers, and pull out more hair than he could, but still that's what he done. But anyway, and he started cutting at Thompson, and that thing built until finally Curtis started cutting guys in the neighborhood, and eventually he started at Thompson, worked a while, then he started up to his grandfather's in downtown. His name was Put Wilson. Started working there, and finally Daddy said, well, you know, we'll start a shop, and he started his shop in 67.
Okay. Now, did you cut?
Well, you know, after the shining shoes, the guy that I was telling you that was the Jehovah's Witness,
Right,
he went on, you know, that they were missionaries. So he moved to Mississippi, and at that time, that left a chair vacant, and we had then acquired another guy, and I'm sure a lot of them might know Joe Parrish. Joe Parrish was Joel Parrish's father. Which come from up in the Blackman area, up on 165.
Okay.
When Joe come, that was 2, and then Shell left. That left that chair open. So I stepped up. One week I was shining shoes, and the next week Daddy got 2 old wooden drink cases, and he stacked them on top of each other and said, "You gonna cut hair next week." Back then, it wasn't a choice.
Right.
You did or you suffered the consequences. But fortunately, I struggled through the first couple of weeks, but it just kind of came to me, and you know.
Now let me ask you this. A lot of times when the business is passed on to us from our parents, we don't have the same love for the business as they did. Now, do you have a love for the business?
Well, I don't have as much love as my brother Curtis had, and I'll just be totally honest with you. Curtis, he loved the barbering business. I think one of my problems was, you know, Daddy kind of pushed me into it, and it, I say all the time, it kind of took a lot of things away that I wanted to do when I was growing up in that day and age, you know. I wanted to play sports and all.
Sure.
And so I couldn't do that. So I always felt like whenever I get grown, I would
do what I
not cut hair anymore.
Right.
And so I think that kind of damaged my love for it. But you know.
But even though, and I hear you saying that, and a lot of us said that, but at the same time, when we look at it, we thank God for that.
Oh God,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Number one, putting us in a business environment and instilling in us the work ethics and all that other stuff. And I tell you what, I heard you say that he used to farm and then he came on the inside.
Oh yeah.
I'd love that. I'd love to. He's better come on the inside rather than that farm.
I was too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
So we got a lot to be thankful for.
Yeah, we do.
We got a lot to be
thankful. That farming was something else.
Now, and you're married. You're married. You have a lovely wife and everything, and so we know that about you. Now let's talk about this shop, because I am amazed at this shop. I am amazed at this shop. I am amazed at this. This is beautiful. This is beautiful. And my growing up, three things was the church, the funeral home, and the barber shop was always standing out. It was, it was always top notch. The funeral home, the church, and the barber shop. And this is one that all of us could be proud of. So number one, how many what do you call it, how many barbers do you actually have here?
Right now I have 7. We have 10 chairs, and I, short a few barbers.
You think I could get one of them chairs?
Well, I'll see. I'll see.
Well, you'll
try.
They'll close you down, man. Now listen. This one aspect of it that I know that and I want our audience to know about, because we talked about this before, and that you got a training program here.
That's right.
Talk to us about that. You got a training program, and I think that it's very important that our audience know about the training program you have here.
But that was something that didn't start here. That started from the day we started the barbershop. Dad,
back with your dad, Jimmy.
Dad, yeah. We always looked for young men that, had that talent, and some that didn't. We helped them to acquire the talent. But the main objective was to take these young men out of, less than, I'd say, average home lives, and to give them an opportunity to be an asset to themselves, to their families, and to the community. So Daddy started that, and over the years, I guess we've had probably 7,500 people have come through Williams Barbershop. That's not exaggerating it.
Training.
I mean, yes, it's people I see now that I forget about they used to cut hair.
Yeah.
But it was just a thing that we would always go back to the high school and try to find young men that was in school, bring them in. The whole idea was you go and reach and get the young guys, and then when the guys that were there, when they mature, finish high school, they would move on to other things.
And that's biblical. That is biblical. And you're saying two things that I want. Biblical. Number one, you're known by your fruits, and y'all gonna train that many folks out there. You got a lot of fruit out there.
Yeah.
And then the Bible teaches us that to whom much is given, much is required.
Right.
You follow what I'm saying? And that's one of the things that is missing in our community. One of the things that is missing in our community is somebody willing to reach out and put somebody else under their wings for training purposes or opportunity purposes or things of that nature.
Well, that's just the way it is nowadays. Some of the things that we had as a people, even going back to the farming, we had more ourselves as a people. If you think about back in that day when families pretty well were self-sufficient. They were self-sufficient. They grew all of their food, vegetables, and they had farm animals they would raise, and they would, have different times. They'll have their slaughters, and they would have their meats all, and they were independent. But somewhere, that was traded off for industry. People left what they had, and they saw the glory of the city and the industry, and knowing that I could work 40 hours a week, and on Friday I get a paycheck. So it was a certain amount of surety there, but it undermined that process. I think we lost a lot when we left the country. And we turned that in. Now you're seeing these same companies that fold up and gone on to Mexico and all these other places. And now you have people that had farms, they had land, they own land that is gone. And if that had been something that we had have stuck with, it would have been passed on. Just like Williams Barbershop, you would have passed the family farm on. And that was what would have sustained us. But we've now become more dependent because of these things. But it's like everything you see, everything shine is not gold, and that was one of the situations that we dealt with.
Let's talk about from the business aspect of it. You try to pride in it, not try, but you pride yourself as being business friendly. Or were there any obstacles? Even though the barbershop has been established a long time. you over here, and you're a businessman here in this business owner. More than a businessman, but you're a business owner.
Right.
Tax and all these other things. Is it as easy being a businessman as our leadership tell us?
There's the challenge, personal challenges of being able to be more self-disciplined when you're a private business person. You know, I mentioned ago about the surety of getting a paycheck. Being a private business owner, you have to make that paycheck. And if you don't make that paycheck, you don't get paid on Friday. And I think that was one of the illusions that attracted people away from what they had because of that surety that they thought they had. So that is one of the challenges. That was one of the challenges. You got to be disciplined. A lot of times I find that a lot of young men have a lot of technical skill, but they lack that business part. You see, and it takes both of those meld together in order to be a successful enterprise. And you know, if you have the technical skill, but you can't manage the money, and you end up not being faithful to yourself, your customers, your clientele, and it usually leads to failure.
So in your training program here, from what I hear you say, and I believe this, you do more than just teach them how to cut hair.
This is
You teach them all aspect of it. Go ahead.
This is a living process. Teach them how to live as young men, as people, you know, to be productive citizens. And that's a challenge right now with the way the world is now. It's a lot different. You know, I was at Alabama Power Country for 40 years, so to come back from all of that structure and now to come here, and not to say it's a bad thing, but I find that there's a lot less structure, there's a lot less organization, discipline, values, and so it's a challenge. But I found myself really frustrated, but you know, with the help of God, and I thank Him that I have learned that this is my challenge in order that I can turn this around, especially with the few that I have here, and begin to teach those living skills. You know, we got to teach living skills. You know, when you make the money, what you going to do with it? How can you take this dollar and in a sense spend it twice? You know, how can you stretch it? We as a people, we spend too much. Everything we get our hands on, we're gradually taking it to somebody else and spending it. But we got to learn how to turn that money back into our own community and build. Let that money build us more businesses. Let it build us more places that we can teach other people. So that's my biggest challenge, and I've always been big on education. You know, is to be able to help people. The cliche about either feeding them the fish or teaching them how to fish.
Yeah, that's
so
good.
you know.
Now, how many young men can actually be trained? Now you said something. Now let's look at it from both perspectives. You said you got young men out there making a living.
Right.
You got young men out there making a living, and so they I'm assuming they got top priority to the chairs. Now you're gonna have to tell me. I'm just figuring out some stuff here, but you tell me. But my bottom line question is how many people can you actually train and through the whole process that you just said, and that's beautiful. You teach them more than just to cut hair, and not only how many, but what are the qualifications? If I got a young man and I want to bring him to you for you to train him not only to cut hair, but to make a living, how to manage a dollar, and all the things you just talked about, which is very, very important. And a lot of the things they're not getting in school.
Right.
So the qualifications, number one, and how many can you get at? How many can you?
Well, the qualifications, that's interesting because last year the governor of Alabama passed legislation with the Alabama legislators to require barbers now to have license. Alabama one of the few, if only, states that did not require barbering. Now, not cosmetology, but barbering. As long as you didn't deal with chemicals and all, you could cut hair, and you could not have to have a license. But they changed that for several reasons. One of them was that barbers had began to do chemicals and all, so they had a lot of complaints from cosmetologists saying, well, if I have to have them, they should have them. So in the process is now we have to have license. So all of the guys here now have license, And that's one thing now, where I used to pick up a guy and say, just come on, he has to be licensed.
Okay.
Fortunately, they had closed that window starting last year around, I think, November, and closed it in February, but they found that there were a lot of barbershops didn't even hear about it, so they've reopened this window. And now I talked to them just the other day, and it's going to go to December 31st. And in that process, if a man is already in the business of barbering, he can be grandfathered. All he has to do is to fill out the correct application, pay, I think they moved it from $40 to $90, and also take a photo ID and all, and just get his license.
Look, so even if I never could have before in my life, but I know that if I come here, that you're gonna teach me how to do that, among all the other stuff you're gonna teach me. But I still have to have a license first.
Yes. Well, you can start as an apprentice. You know, they have the apprenticeship license and they have master barber license. And to get a master barber, you should be in the business. You should be already knowing how to cut hair. Now, an apprenticeship, you can just start from scratch. So that's the requirement that you asked me about. Right, we can at least have about 15 people on staff. And the reason I say, you have a lot of young guys at high school. I have 4 guys in high school that'll be in school and getting off in the evening and Saturday. So we can rotate people in the chairs. You know, we have people that we can rotate in and out. So that means I can have 2 people in a chair. So the 10 chairs, and I can support more than 10 people.
Now let me ask you this. If I come in as an apprentice, do I work with one of your barbers that's here?
Right. And work under a master barber. You'll be under a master barber, which Neil and Terrence and Quincy Mayo and Damian Page, all of those are master barbers, and Calvin Thomas.
So I won't mess nobody's head up.
Well, you know, that's what they do. That's what we do. You know, Neil Wilson. I'm sorry, I didn't say Neil Green, but Neil Wilson is the manager. And Neil's job is to watch over the shop. Neil constantly looks over the shop, and we had a new guys like I have Devontae Willis, Josiah Richardson. He looks over and sees these guys, and we look and we make sure that the customer's not going to leave there with less than a perfect haircut.
I got you.
So when he gets to getting off key, you know, they always quick to correct him. And that's the learning process. That is the learning process. You know, put him out there and let him, you know, test himself, because he got to swim on his own. You got to kick him out the nest.
Now, how do I, as an apprentice, get accustomed?
I guess, you know, you just have. Well, you know people. You know people. Most people that come from some community have people that they know, and I try to encourage them to find you 2 or 3 people, young guys at high school. Talk to you 2 or 3 guys at high school, tell them you'll cut their hair free. You know, let them come out, let them do that. You know, they got to learn. So they get paid for everything you do.
That's good.
So I tell them, you know, cut your hair, get 3 or 4 guys, bring them up, and let them be your trial subjects. And the thing about it is, it's all about people watching you and seeing. You know, it's a funny thing when people see the confidence you have, that's what projects back to them to let them try you. You know, because if you're not sure what you're doing, they can tell. You know, and they're also going to tell by seeing the end product. Now, Neil and all the guys, they usually catch that. But the thing it is, it's just all about, you know, trial and error and being able to, you know, just let, you know, trust people and people trust you. That's basically.
Let me ask you this, and again, I want our audience to know that we're going to come back. This is part 1. This is Gumbo Live, part 1 of Williams Barbershop, because we're going to go out there and we're going to talk to the management and all this other stuff. This is what I want to know. You know, I see a lot of folks with all these designs and stuff in their hair. Can we do that here?
Quincy Mayo. Quincy is probably one of the better. Now, all of them can do all of it. You know, all of them. That's one thing I noticed, that they can all do it. But Quincy has a flair for it, you know, and he enjoyed doing it. He actually, I see him with his iPhone in his hand and he's carving people, you know. But that's just Quincy. You gotta know Quincy.
That's one
of them out there now. And he puts his haircuts out on the internet. What he calls social media.
Is that right?
Yeah, and he's got a lot of response for that, but he's really good.
Now, let me ask you this. Now, I remember growing up as a little boy, and one of the things I always looked forward to. I looked forward to getting that ladder on my face with a razor. I never had enough to get that done.
Yeah.
But man, do they still use razors now? I used to get what you call ivory haircut.
Right.
And with my ivory haircut, they would take that razor and go all the way around.
You remember those straps used to be on the chair, you know, a lot of that went away, you know, and I tell you why some of it did, because of the different health concerns, you know, with AIDS and hepatitis, you know, these things cause a lot of potential for blood to be transferred. These things you know, that kind of faded away. And they make clippers now. If you notice, these guys had these little small clippers. They about 4 inches long, 4 or 5 inches long, and that's what they're used. And they're about as sharp, you know, to cut an edge and to shave as
you shave a
razor. Yeah, shave with clippers.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Man, I can remember sitting in the chair. I can remember sitting in the chair, man.
Oh, the old barber used to have that old straight razor. He about this long, and he would have to, you know.
He make that baby talk.
Yeah, he worked that blade, and they would put a new edge on it, and he can scrape it off. I remember, I started cutting back in the 60s and early 70s. That was still real popular.
Right,
you know, you had a guy come in, you had to shave them and all.
That's an art to that, isn't it?
It is. You know, and a lot of the newer guys, unfortunately, they don't do that. They don't. And it wasn't their choosing, it's just that because of these concerns, it was never really encouraged in here, you know, and my brother Curtis, you know, he used to do a lot of it, but it was just that concern, you know, and you have people now that are active carriers. And you just don't never know.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Is the barber shop still the place where you go to be informed? Now, let me tell you what they used to say.
Gossip.
I was trying to dress that up. I was trying to dress that up.
Right. Well, you know.
And that's where the men would go. I'm going to tell the secret on us men now. The men used to go there to gossip, to lie, to tell their hunting stories, to tell their fishing stories, and they talk politics.
Yeah.
Have we lost that in the barber shop, or is it still?
We've lost some of it because of the generations now. Our barber shop now, and I know there's several other barber shops that a lot of the elderly gentlemen probably go to, but most of our clientele is the younger group, and people have become more private, believe it or not, and you don't find a lot of that. I'm more of an outward person and laughing and talking and carrying on, but I find that a lot of this younger generation, they are more confined and they don't, you know. And then I guess it's me being older too, they don't let me kind of in on the big secret, but some of it has been lost.
We used to go, you could go to the barber shop, you get a haircut, learn how to play domino, learn how to play cards, because there's always a domino game somewhere, always cards, and so we lost
some of that we lost. Some of the older gentlemen, you know, I've been here, I've seen probably, I say 3 or 4 generations. You know, I see young men that I cut their hair on a board. Now they bringing their grandchildren. You know.
Now do this for us, because I would never want to end this show without this. I want you to tell us. Only you can tell us this. Let me say this first before I ask you this question. Okay. You know, I'm always talking about Central Funeral Home, and people that watch this program, you know, they come on and come off, and on my radio program on Sunday mornings, I talk about Central Funeral Home.
Okay.
But I always say this, it's about choice. It's not about competition.
Right.
We got more than one funeral home here.
Sure.
So it's all about choice.
Sure.
And all I push is choice. I really don't push no one funeral home. I just push choice. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And I chose because of my relationship with the family.
Right.
I talked about Central Funeral.
Yeah.
You never hear me talking against none of the rest of them.
Right.
A matter of fact, Woody and Mr. Sanford, all of them were friends with all of them. And Mr. Franklin down the street there, you know. So I don't talk against them.
Right.
And I believe in choice. That's the American way. I wanted to make that statement because I wanted to ask you, what makes your shop different than any other barber shop here in town?
Well, one of the things is that
Besides being the most beautiful shop.
Well, I'll leave that to you. But we, you know, if you look around, William Barbershop been here since 1967, and every shop in Eufaula, I would be safe to say, except for Earl Thompson, is somewhat of a product of William Barbershop. You know, if you go over to, well, I don't want to call names, but I would say every shop in town, you know. Dad had a thing, he said, whenever a man got where he would be able to have his own shop, Daddy would give him his chair. He would give him his chair and he would help him to be able to start his own shop.
Is that right?
Yeah. So that was just his attitude about not only trying to keep everything, but to help others to go. And I know Horace Gifford probably wouldn't mind me saying it, but when he left, his brother Saul opened up a beauty shop, and Horace left and went Map, I call it.
Map, yeah.
Daddy gave him his chair and give him his blessings.
Is that right?
And they moved across over the highway and you know, started their shop. You know, it was an interesting thing, and I say this to the testament of my dad, but years ago when they had the old buildings downtown there on Barber Street, which we wasn't in that old, the oldest building was old wooden building. People that my age will remember, they was old buildings about to fall in, wash house, pool hall and all. Well, they tore down a lot of it that was in the back of that, in the alley. They used to call it a city within a city.
Is that right?
Oh man, there was black businesses all in there. Cleaning businesses, restaurant businesses, cafes. Well, they tore it all down. There was a guy there, Mr. Mose, what was his name? But anyway, Mr. Mose had a shop, and Daddy had first choice on the building, and Mr. Mose would have had to go out of business. And Daddy told me, he said, well, take the signs that we had and make Mr. Mose a sign. We had another space next to our, inside of our building.
Right.
And he let him open his barbershop in that building.
Same building. In
that same building. He said, that man got to feed his family just like I got to feed mine. And that was the attitude that I acquired, is to know that what's yours is yours. Nobody can take it away from you.
That's good. That is absolutely good.
And you cannot. You know, if you go in the mall and look, you see stores all the way down the mall.
Right,
you know, some of them in the same business.
Right.
You know, it's not about how many. It's about who the best and what product you are trying to. You know, how you present your product. It's the service. See, it's all about service.
So you back with me. You with me on when it comes to choice.
Yeah.
Well, when I get up in the morning, you my good friend.
Yeah.
You my good friend, and you know we got to stir it together. You my good friend, but I've never sat in that chair. Well, I go somewhere else.
Well, I can respect that.
And that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm a creature of habit, you know, and I start going somewhere else, and I just do that. And what I like about your attitude is that it's not about competition, it's about choice.
It's about choice.
It's about choice.
Yeah.
And you still my friend. I still call you my friend. And I've never spent a nickel here.
That's fine. Because, you know, you told me, you know, when you first come, and then you found someone, and I said, well, that's good. You know, main thing is you get a haircut. But the thing about it is, if you give a person service, you know, they're going to come to you. It's all about making people feel like they are special.
Right.
And to give them the respect. You got to give them a good product too.
That's right.
But it's all about that. Now, going back to say in the mall, you can have 10 businesses the same, and everybody will get there. Now, one of the things we have to get out of as a black business owners is, well, he's gonna hurt my business or he's gonna hurt mine. No, it's just, that's free enterprise.
Right.
The more is in the business, the more choices people have. And that way you can all stay in a balance. You know, monopolies is what drive the price up.
Right.
So when you got a lot of choices, the price is gonna stay down.
Yeah, yeah.
So never worried about what he is doing.
Right.
You make your product the best.
Right.
That's the whole idea.
Right.
It don't matter about how many is in the business.
Now tell me about price. Are the barbershops regulated? The state say you can't charge us so much, or tell us a little bit about price. Is each individual barbershop can charge what they want?
Well, they can, but it's something that we try to keep consistent in the city. And I go back to Daddy again, when we all did decide that we would, go up on the price. He'd always go to every barbershop in town and get an agreement that we would go together.
Mm-hmm.
That way you wouldn't force a person to here, to here, to here. It would be done uniformly. That way, it would be together.
That's
and
good.
so he would always go to them, and Dad, we'd sit up and we made everybody their sign. And we would take it to this barbershop, to that barbershop.
Right.
And it's all about relationships,
No, wait. Now, man, you keep opening some doors for me. Do the barbers still have that kind of relationship today and you follow? Is there some kind of association where y'all can meet on a regular basis and discuss stuff like this? Does that still exist?
Well, I hope it will start back. I don't know. I haven't heard anything like that. I'm just not coming back from Alabama Power Company, so a lot of things are new coming back to the barbering business. But that's something I would like to start back, is to be able to have some type of relationship. Because it's in our industry. This is our industry, so we need to work together to increase our industry. One of the worst things you want to do is start a price war with each other. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it benefits the city as far as the customers, but I tell the guys all the time, never do that. You undermine your own self, but you want to stay together. Mm-hmm. And so, to answer your question, no, as far as I know right now, we don't. Mm-hmm. But I would really love to be able to sit down with every barber, every owner, and say, well, guys, let's do this. Let's make it. Because it's all about serving the city that you follow. Mm-hmm. It's about, they are the ones that will be in the end results. Mm-hmm. And that's why, with everything I've done it for my customers. Mm-hmm. Because they are the special people. Without the customers, they're no business.
And I will make a commitment that Gumbo Live will do everything we can to help you achieve that goal.
Well,
that's a beautiful thing when folks can sit down.
Right.
Let me tell you what I've seen here. I've seen, let's say, funeral homes. I've seen funeral homes have 3 or 4 funerals in one day. Mm-hmm. And the one across the town, one can help the other side across the town.
Yeah.
That to me, that don't make sense. That's not how we ought to operate.
No,
you understand what I'm saying?
It's not.
Because it is choice. And when it's about the people.
Right.
And if somebody choose you, then I should do all the thing I can to make that family. You know what I'm saying?
You're supporting that family.
Yeah.
You're not supporting, you're not, and when you start doing things to undermine him, you undermine that family that he's serving.
Right.
And that will come back, I think, to haunt you. So you want to be up front with everybody, and try to make sure that we all stay within that same range and keep yourself, keep it uniform.
Make this town the best we can. Mm-hmm. Listen, our dime is almost up.
Yeah.
Our dime is almost up. And I have enjoyed this. I enjoyed it so much we gotta do it again.
Yeah, I look forward to it.
But before we go, I want to tell my audience you're watching Gumbo Live. This program should be Tuesday night at 7 p.m. on channel 97 locally. And it's going to also be on YouTube, that you can pull it up at any time you get ready on YouTube. You just simply go to You Follow TV 1. You follow TV 1, push the YouTube button, and you'll see this program. Now, before I go, I want to say, Mr. Williams, I want to say thank you, number one.
Well, thank you for giving me this opportunity.
And please tell your mother hello for me.
I will do
your
it.
wife. And now, before we go, I want you to say to our listening audience anything that you would like to tell them. Anything that you would like to tell them.
Well, I really would like to just say thank you from William Barbershop to the city of Eufaula for all the years that you all have supported us. And that was one of the driving forces behind what we've done in the shop as far as trying to make it nice. I tried to do this with you in mind because you deserve a place to come in, to be able to relax and watch TV and be comfortable and just to really make this a joyful experience, you know. And I want to move away from that image of the little old shop across the track, and not saying nothing negative about anybody, but just to have something that you would be proud of. So I thank you, and this is for you. I built this with the city in mind, and I want to say this too. This is not a black barbershop. This is a barbershop for the city of Eufaula. I welcome everybody, and believe it or not, we've had great response from the community, and I encourage everybody to just stop by and take a look, and you know, if it's something we can do to make your experience better, you know, or best, then I look forward to doing it. So thank you, and thank you, Gumbo Live, for this opportunity.
All right.
And
you've been watching Gumbo Live with L.C. Green. I'm a very special guest, Mr. Jimmy Williams from Williams Barbershop. Stop by. If you got any questions, I always say, if you got any questions, any comments, drop your questions or comments off at the bread basket. Ask for Tony when you get to the bread basket. You got some questions or comments for Mr. Williams, I'll be glad to bring them to him, and he can either answer, and I tell you on the camera, or I bring him back on the camera and let him answer the question. But you've been watching Gumbo Live with L.C. Green.
The next time you need a haircut, think of the barbershop with a grand tradition. Williams Barbershop. Williams Barbershop, proud to serve the entire community of Eufaula. Come by to our new location, new facilities, and see what it's like to be treated in style at Williams Barbershop in the old JCPenney catalog store. There is another choice for making funeral arrangements. Central Funeral Services, located in Eufaula and Louisville, Alabama. With one-of-a-kind staff, thrives on professionalism and meeting the unique needs of families with a wide variety of services. Owned and operated by the Mixon family. Call 687-1060 or 266-5261. Melissa Mixon Smith, licensed funeral director.